in the bowl for 10 minutes. Just get everything cold, like ensure, especially if it's a hot day or whatever, that everything is cold in one way. Everyone forgets the flour. The flour, if it's 100 degrees in your house, your flour is going to be 90 degrees or 100, probably not. So yes.
Is there such a thing as too cold for the butter?
No, so this is just the flour. You don't want to have your butter frozen because then it'll be very hard to break into your flour. So instead of keep your butter cold in the fridge but freeze, you could put your flour in the refrigerator too, but you just have to, it'll take longer. So I'm saying, I need to make a pie dough. Mix everything, throw it in the freezer, 10 minutes later, pull out, your bowl will be cold, everything will be cold, and then you have your butter cold in the fridge and you have your water cold, and everything's cold. Maybe put your hands underneath the sink. No, I'm just kidding. My warm hands. But so what you're going to do is you're just going to toss together the flour, butter in your flour, so all the butter is coated.
And you guys, you might want to come up and so you can look. And everybody's going to be mixing in a few minutes anyway.
So we have, I'll wait.
So you do that in the bakery?
No, by hand. There's no way. No.
What about you take the time to put it in the freezer?
We do. Oh yeah. We actually keep bags of flour in the freezer.
I was going to confess to breaking more than one paddle, 140 quart paddle with frozen butter.
Frozen butter. Yes, it's not good. So I've tossed it. So I have my butter pieces cut into nice little 1-inch size cubes. And what I'm going to do is you can either use a pastry blender or your hands, but sometimes it starts to hurt if you have arthritis but what I'm doing is I'm just cutting the butter into the flour.
And one of the reasons that I prefer doing it with the fingers, like if I'm doing it at home or a KitchenAid, way over using a food processor.
Oh yeah.
Is you're rubbing the fat into the flour and you're hydrating the flour with the fat rather than water. So if you're just using a blade, you're cutting up the butter, but you're probably going to end up using more water and you're going to have tougher
dough. And the food processor also warms it all up. So it's just a whole, stay away from the processor.
You just use
shred your cheese.
Paddle attachment?
Yeah, use the paddle attachment in your KitchenAid or Hobart or whatever you're using.
So basically you want to hydrate the dough the minimum amount.
Yes.
Yes. I know.
Yes.
To not develop too much gluten, but just enough. And the fat, your fat will help prevent any, helps the gluten from not forming.
I have a question. So I always get aggravated by the thing that says that I should have pea-sized lumps. But when I do that with my fingers, I have little pancakes, not peas.
Just going to say that.
So I'm like, if I rolled up my pancake, would it be a pea? I don't know.
So do you remember Piper introduced Naomi?
Yes.
So she always says in every pie class, and I think it's so good that again, like everybody says pea size, and it should be like dime size, dime to nickel.
Okay,
because
I can do that.
Yeah, you
That makes
get
a lot
these
more
flat.
sense.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Excellent.
So it takes a while.
You get really strong thumbs.
You do. So you just keep going.
I can almost beat my husband at thumb wrestling.
But I can feel my flour change. So this is that whole wheat pastry flour too. Can you see? It's not. It's just it's pretty white. But the flavor is amazing.
And it's 100%.
It's 100%. Nope.
People should feel.
Yeah. I'm
where
gonna.
It starts to like you
So
should
this is.
feel it.
Go ahead. Stick your hand in there.
And it
we
gets.
won't eat it.
It's starting to get sandy.
It's not there yet.
You can, and you want to still see butter, but you want like the flour. It shouldn't feel just like plain flour anymore.
Right. It's moisture.
So you find that the wheat's close enough that it cuts the gluten strands a little bit if you're
That's a really good question. I haven't noticed that it would be hard to roll or something if it's. Because I guess.
There's been some discussion about taking the whole wheat flour and steaming it a bit to try and soften it a bit so it doesn't get the gluten strands quite so much. This is more bread trick. Not
Right,
pastry.
right. Well, but this is, that's an interesting, I haven't noticed. Can I feel? Yeah. Feel it. Feel it out.
Do that without wetting.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
need
it's in the
more, though,
processing.
right?
They're talking in the
Oh,
milling.
okay.
All right. Okay, now we're gonna.
Does it look really
Speed
similar
it.
when you do it with the paddle? on the
Yeah,
machine?
it does. And if, for the paddle, I would definitely probably make my butter chunks a little bigger because it's just going to work it a little bit more once I've mixed my water into it. But I can also control it after the fact. You can't go backwards, but you can always, like, once you get your 60-quart mixer of dough out on the table, you could break it down a little further if you had to, and I'll show you what I do. Yeah, not fun, but so.
And then if anybody makes their pastry with lard or vegetable shortening, you'll notice how much more quickly it cuts in.
Yeah, because it's softer, and you want to, like the duck fat. When I made the duck fat one, I cut my duck fat up. It was cold, and then I froze it because it definitely breaks down pretty fast. So your different fats, you'll feel that they're just going to be completely different than butter.
Do yours, do
Ever so
yours
fun.
in the mixer too?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Same,
Mm-hmm.
same.
Yep. With the mixer used, like if you even do you have a little 5-quart mixer and you cut the butter in with your mixer, I would still take it out of the mixer and add my water by hand. I would never, at the bakery we add our water within the mixer, but we do it like it's just there to basically blend it together for a few seconds and then we do the rest.
How much lemon juice in that?
Tablespoon? 2 tablespoons. And how much water was 2/3? Yeah, these small little recipes. 1 3/4 cup to a cup. All right, so we're there.
Can I ask you, do you use cups and pounds and ounces in the bakery? Because
We use
we use the
pounds.
metric system.